When I tell people that MAGA is indeed a cult, I mean just that it's gotten to the point where now I could almost turn this into a series of videos based on the things that I've seen on Twitter in the last couple of weeks. But I'm not going to do that because I have other things to talk about. But this one right here came my way, and I have to give a shout out to KG because he sent it to me, involving this tweet that this person named Daniel Martinovich, never heard of the guy, posted up on his Twitter account, where he's bringing up The Wire, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump. Now let me go through this thing and comb through this tweet line by line, because it's absolutely ridiculous of how this guy formed this thing. And then also the following tweets was even more ridiculous. He said Barack Obama's favorite series was The Wire, as was many other people. So singling out Barack Obama doesn't mean anything. And let me just also say this. This does not mean that I am supporting Barack Obama in any type of way. I'm just going off a response because the tweet itself is just crazy. For its realism about the streets of DC. Tell me you haven't watched The Wire without telling me you haven't watched The Wire, because he said the streets of DC. When I first saw this, that was the first thing that stuck out to me that let me know, okay, I'm doing a video about this before I saw anything else that came after it. Streets of DC, because last time I checked, The Wire was filmed and takes place in Baltimore. DC was referenced in the show, but it didn't take place there. And as a person who is a DMV native via Maryland, I would know the difference. I actually live closer to DC than I do Baltimore. Baltimore for me is about a 45-minute drive. So if you're in DC, that's probably like an additional 15 minutes, making it like an entire hour. Maybe about the same distance, depending on what part of DC you're coming from. Because even though DC has many parts to it, if you know, you know. But he said the streets of DC. So that's how we knew immediately. Those who responded to him, and trust there was a lot of people that did, knew that he didn't know what he was talking about when he said that. He said no teenage character of color, and I don't know why he said of color, because the most of the cast was black anyway, lasted more than like 5 episodes before they were murdered by another teenage character of color. This is another reason we know he didn't watch this, because I don't think there was any character that died after we first met them within 5 episodes of us meeting them. A lot of them lasted in entire seasons if their character did get killed. And for the most part, a lot of teenagers didn't even get killed. If there were characters that did get killed, a lot of them were adults. Were there some teens that got killed? Yes, but not nearly as much as the adults were. So we don't know what he's talking about, but trust me, when you see the response that he gave to another tweet, it's going to put everything into perspective. He said it was a good representation of life in 80% of the firearm homicides in our nation that come from a dozen big blue cities run by Democrats for decades. So now we're getting into the meat of his, whatever he's trying to convey. He's trying to do the whole, the blue city thing, the Democrat ran city thing, and all this, that, and the third and whatnot. And I think this is also coming off the heels of what Donald Trump recently did with the federalization of DC and, bringing the National Guard. And this is definitely coming off of the heels of that, because I'm looking at the date. It says August the 12th. Then he goes on to say, but what did Obama do about it? Nothing. He was too busy. And then he misspelled the version of 2 that he was supposed to actually put into place. Then along comes Trump. Now here comes the glazing. This is where the glazing of Trump comes in. Who will benefit if he is successful? The very people of color that are being murdered and enslaved by gang violence. Again, notice he's using the term people of color. He's not saying black, even though that's what he's referring to. And enslaved by gang violence. What in the world is this dude babbling about? He said enslaved by gang violence. I told you this tweet is absolutely ridiculous. His goal is to rage bait. That's what he's trying to do as it pertains to this, but everyone is clowning him about this. When I was looking at the replies, it was black people getting on him. It was even white people getting on him, because when it comes to shows like The Wire, it's one of the most popular shows ever created, no matter what genre it falls under, no matter what network or anything. Like it has a huge rewatchability. Like you can go back and watch it again as if you've only watched it one time. And this guy's up here talking about a bunch of nonsense about a show he has no clue about. But we're going to continue. He says this is why even more black folks, now he finally says black folks. He said people of color twice, but now he's saying black folks will be voting for whoever Trump endorses. So you know our voting practices, because he must not know mine. I'm a registered independent, and when it came to the last election, I voted for neither of them. I voted for the couch. But see, this guy again thinks he knows what's best for black people. He feels that Trump is like, it's almost like, are you trying to get a job? Are you trying to get on a team? Like, what is this? What's really going on here? I'm going to sit up here and say that black folks will be voting for whoever Trump endorses. No, that's not going to happen. What in the world is this dude talking about? He thinks he knows black people so well. And I will say this. This is one thing that the white conservative and the white liberal have in common. This part right here, where they think that they can be the mouthpiece for black people, or they feel like they can say that, oh, we know what's best for them. Both of them have the white savior complex, where they feel like they got to swoop down and save the downtrodden black folks from themselves. They both do it from different angles, but they both do it and have done it and still continue to do it. He ends it off with, Trump will be making their lives better, while the best Democrats can offer is to lie about crime stats, even though that's what the current sitting president did in front of the entire nation this past Monday. And by the way, I'm recording this on August 13th. So by the time you see it, of course, this past Monday would have been about a couple of Mondays ago. Why he sat up there and just lied about crime stats on television. Again, I'm telling you, the MAGA cult is not beating these allegations, and this is more further proof as to why. But what's interesting was when the first person I saw respond to him, what they said, but what Dan came back with was even more atrocious. But before we actually get into that, let me get into the following tweet that he made I guess after he realized that he messed up. So he came back with this tweet right here and said, oh man, folks are going to make me delete my post because I thought The Wire was about DC and saw dozens of clips about every single character on it getting murdered. Figures my first post garnering thousands of views was because I'm wrong. That's X for you. So let's break this down. He actually thinks that people are going to force him to delete the post. Listen, I read through a lot of the responses. Nobody told him to delete the post. I think maybe one person told him to delete it out of the dozens of people that just clowned him for this whack take. So no one's telling you to delete the post. As a matter of fact, many people are hoping you leave the post up, which, by the way, it didn't get that much engagement because, again, it's August 13th and he posted this on August the 12th, like later in the evening, and it didn't get as much engagement as he wanted, which is what he was going for, because as you can see at the end, he says, figures my first post garnering thousands of views was because I'm wrong. So again, he's telling you right there that he wanted to engagement farming, because again, he has a blue check and they have to post stuff like this in order to gain money or funds on him. And we've already gone through the figures. They don't get paid like that. So it's like, why are you engagement farming the way that you do and you don't get that much money? Like, you're probably getting enough money to maybe, I don't know, go get some items from 7-Eleven. If that, you don't even get enough to get gas or fill up your tank or anything like that. But this is the lane or the hill you want to die on. Now that we've gone over that part, and I want you to keep the part about where he says saw dozens of clips in mind when we get to this next screenshot. So this right here is a reply. This is the first reply that I saw from someone named Jim Flynn. He said, this is a joke. The Wire was based in Baltimore, moron. Then Dan comes back. Now, mind you, if you look at the time, it says 9 hours. So this was made before the post that you just saw. And I think this, which makes sense when you think about it. He says, really? I thought it was DC. Only watched a bunch of clips on Facebook. Sorry, don't think Obama did anything to help Baltimore either though. So you based your whole thing of what he posted, the very first post that led us here, on clips that he saw of the show. And I'm sure I can pretty much guess what clips he's talking about. He didn't watch one episode of The Wire. He watched clips and used what he saw in those clips and made that whole blasphemous post to throw black people under the bus, but also at the same time say why black people need Donald Trump. Like, what? And again, that's why people was clowning him, not only because of the thing about him saying that, oh, it was in DC, even though it's Baltimore. Those two different worlds, two different locations. But you never watched one episode, and you decided, I'm going to just propagandize something. I'm going to try to rage bait, which it was an epic fail. And then you're going to use one of the best shows ever created for television, for cable television at that, to try to drive home a point that led to nowhere but a dead end. Like, this was literally DOA, dead on arrival. The minute that he pushed send on his phone or his laptop or his computer to send that tweet, it was all downhill from there. And he's not going to take the post, and I hope that he doesn't, because he needs the engagement, but he's not going to get much on it except for the fact that people are going to clown him. But that's what he wanted, because remember what he said in the previous post. That's what he's trying to get. But they try to say that we're low IQ. I mean, if you say so, but again, you're not helping your cause. And again, you're still not beating those allegations. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments, and I will talk to you in the next one.